For those who didn't know Mark McCuish, he was someone who left us all too early last month at the age of just 43. He left behind a lot of sorrow and a lot of sadness, and that went around for some time yet, but he also left behind a lot of love and a lot of fun, and that's how most of us will remember Cuish. Aside from his family, his big love was football, mostly in the shape of Celtic and St Anthony's. And to help us relive some of those memories today, I'm joined by two people who were with Mark during some of those happiest times in his life. Here with Mark's brother Stephen, known to many as Soko, and his former manager, friend, and he would probably say mentor, James McKenna. Lads, really good to have you both here. Stephen, I know amongst the sad times over the last few weeks, I'm sure you've taken time as a family to remember many of those happy times with Mark, particularly in terms of the football. What would your own earliest memories be of being with Mark at the football?
Well, in his own football, my earliest memories were got to watch Mark with St Saviours. Mark's manager, Dom Ralston. Sadly, he's not here the day, but Dom was a massive influence for Mark as well. You know what I mean? He helped him a lot, and also Frank Rooney came into the picture then as well. So I was at St Saviours. Then when he moved on to high school, he played for the high school football team. So it's when Frank Rooney came in, I think he went to. Did he go to Hillwood first? Was it Hillwood he went to first? I think. Hillington, sorry. Went to Hillington first. That's obviously where he won the Scottish Cup as well. And then he moved on to. He went to play with Harmon Row, and that's who Frank was the manager there. Again, Frank was a major influence in his life, and I was speaking to Frank a few weeks ago, and he shared so many photos, and he said gave me a Mark. I think they played in a Scottish Cup game in Aberdeen, so he's gave me a wee dongle, and it's the game it's on it. Right. And at the end there's a dressing room. Me and my dad are in a dressing room as well. So kind of everywhere he went, I was tied to his leg, and you know, it was for an early age.
What was the age difference? Okay,
There's only 3 years of difference.
3 years, and were you his biggest fan then as a wee brother?
I grown up. It was always looked up to him. Obviously, I was a tougher one out of two, but no. But growing up, it was for me. He was more than a brother to me. You know what I mean? He was always my hero. I just looked up to him, and because everything he done in life, like I wanted to do as well. I wanted to play football. He was obviously he went on to do what he done. So I always looked up to him. You get siblings that are really, maybe you're fighting or whatever else, but we were never. I could probably in 43 years count in one hand how many times we've actually had a fight. You know what I mean? So obviously part of that was him being scared as well.
I get that. Was football always his big thing, Soko? Was he just football mad as a wee guy?
No, he was just football daft for a very young age. That was all he was into. Constant football and training. Like my dad used to take him to training all the time, or if my ma would take him, he was a young boy, and then obviously growing up he would have people that he would go away, but no, it was just football, nothing. He wasn't really interested in anything else, you know what I mean?
I've heard you say a few times, and I heard you speaking at Mark's service recently about, you know, Cuish was a very decent player, but I heard you say you were the better player. Are you sticking with that?
Oh, of course, aye.
You've got to, haven't you?
Oh, I'm going to call that out.
James, you'll get your chance in just a second. You've mentioned various clubs, so St Saviour's Primary School, St Gerard's, High School, won the Scottish Cup with Hillington along with Stevie Mulligan that we know well, and we'll get to that story just shortly. Was there kind of a few trials and different things? Was it Kilmarnock for a wee spell?
He also won the Scottish Schools as well with Trinity High.
Okay.
For the Scottish Schools had like, I don't know if it was like kind of Scottish Cup type thing. So they won the Scottish Schools as well with Trinity. So so he moved on. He played with Tower Hearts, and there's a funny story about that as well. I was in Ireland, and Mark phoned me and says, "Have you seen my trackie?" I'd done it a couple of times. I remember taking his Brazil trackie as well, and he phoned and he says, "Have you seen my trackie, my football trackie?" And I says, "Aye, I've got it on." So I'm in Ireland with his football trackie.
Have I seen it? It's right here.
And he's looking for his trackie, so he's gone mad on the phone. "That's my football trackie, I need that." And then I done it one time as well, the old Brazil trackie. I done it then as well. Growing up, just wore everything it has, you know what I mean?
That's just what brothers do, isn't it? So that was all part of the
so
game.
he was at Tower Hearts. He went for a trial with Kilmarnock, and that was a very short-lived trial.
I hear Bobby Williamson wasn't too keen about the Celtic attire he was wearing around the place.
Nah, because he turned up with with a wee white t-shirt on with a wee 4-leaf clover, and Paul Robinson told him not to bring that back to training again,
and he didn't last too long at Kilmarnock after that.
no, it didn't last too long.
So you mentioned your dad, Alco, and obviously, you and your dad were kind of going around and watching Mark in the various places he had grown up and playing his early games. And James, you knew Alco way back in the day, didn't you?
I knew Alco for a long time. Obviously, when they were Waynes, Sokol and Steve, Mark was Waynes, they were all kids. And Alco used to be assistant manager to the Ants, and they used to bring they two down, and they would just play in the long grass at the back of the railway, causing trouble, stealing balls, etc. No, but they were always good Waynes. But Cuish, Mark always said he was always, even if he was a Wayne, I'm going to play with the Ants, going to play with the Ants, and that. But you know what it's like when you're a Wayne, you just think, oh, no bother, wee man, you'll be fine. But no, Alco done great. He was in with my brother Felix, then he was assistant manager. At that time, I think the Ants paid £3 then, believe it or not.
It's gone down since then.
No, it's nothing new, but at that time it was £3. And we'd actually not a bad team, but we could never do anything really. And I think they get promoted. We played one year and we get promotion, but we get relegated, and we get promoted, we get relegated. And we just stayed low. And Alco, he's working the farmers at the time, wasn't he? Scottish farmers, he's working it, and that shut down, so Alco lost his job and that, and I think that was kind of more or less the end of the football. He maybe started taking the Martin Stephen to the football and that and whatever.
So you signed Cuish, I was checking, over 20 years ago. You signed him in 2003.
2003.
And we'll get to that as well just in a wee bit. But you've known him, as you say, as a wee guy, cheeky wee guy,
Wee swagger.
Cutting around doing the ball boy. Was he a wido even then?
I had a wee cheeky tone in him, a wee fly guy.
Did you always think, at some point that you'll ever see him kicking a ball at an early age, did you always think there was a potential he might come and play with
No,
us?
to be honest, no. I generally didn't think, but obviously when he's going to play and he was doing well at juvenile football and that, because we never really, because we were for East End, obviously, so I was for East End, so Cuish was for Govan. So I never really seen him as much playing with the juveniles. But I know he'd always done well, because obviously Alco would say, I'd always say, how's your boy doing? He'd say, oh, he's doing well. And obviously with Dixie and Soap, we were always there in Govan. And when we met him, we were in, I think it was the Govan Arms or the Albion Way. And he came in, he was only away, and he must have been about 13 or something, 12. And he's like, I want a trial with the Ants and that. And I'm older, I says, you'll get one soon, son. And this was maybe about 5 years before he came. And he came down, I don't know if that's that boy, what's the boy you said there? The coach.
Frank Rooney.
Rooney. He said, what's his son's name? Stephen, is it?
Stephen Rooney, yeah.
Well, Stephen played in a similar position as Mark. And Cuish was like, I'll bring a pal with me. And we said, what's it like? And he said, he's good, but he's not as good as me. So I was talking to Stephen at a funeral, and Stephen says to me, you told me I wasn't good enough to play with Ants. I said, I never told you, I can't even remember you. He said, I mean, Cuish was to come up for a trial, and Cuish told me not to bother. I said, well, Cuish has told you not to bother, because that was his position he wanted. Then he want you coming. I said, I didn't say it, you know what I mean? So Cuish had obviously told him he wasn't good enough to come and play.
Smart move.
It's a smart move.
So what James says there about you lads getting up with your dad and watching the Ants, as wee boys and kind of growing up into teenagers, would they be amongst your happier memories growing up?
Aye, definitely. I remember the two were mascots one time for the Ants as well. They played, I can't remember where it was this big massive park somewhere, and Felix says to us if we wanted to be mascots, and that was amazing. Like, I'd never wanted to play for the Ants. They weren't good enough for my sort of calibre of player. But Mark had always, Mark, it was, I'm not saying it was a dream, but Mark always wanted to, he was young, always did want to play with the Ants, because my dad was assistant manager and that, and obviously I looked up to my dad. So I always wanted to play with the Ants, and I can't tell you where this part was, but the Ants were playing, maybe if it was a Scottish Cup game or something.
Probably Scottish.
And Felix had says to my dad, the two boys wanted to do their mascots, and it was brilliant. So you just came out with the Ants stuff on, you felt amazing, it was like, oh, you felt like a player. But no, it was brilliant, especially for Mark, and considering he wanted to play with Ants as well, you know what I mean? That's
a nice touch, and the Ants very much a family club, and that's always been the case. What did your mum think of Mark following in your dad's footsteps and getting involved in the Ants? Would she have been pretty pleased with that happening?
Aye, my ma just, see, whatever was best for us in life, my ma just wanted the best for her two sons. And she gave us everything that she could, every help. You know yourself, like growing up, when we were growing up, it was hard. It was hard times. It's not like now when the Waynes get good everything, you know what I mean? It was hard times then. So like my dad, obviously James mentioned it there, he worked in Scottish Farmers, but my dad worked away a lot as well. So my mum was like a single parent at times as well. So it was tough for her. Trying to obviously bring up 2 young boys as well, and especially Mark, who wanted everything. For a young age as well, I was never into I wasn't a materialistic person, whereas Mark wanted the best everything, you know what I mean? Like I would have worn a pair of goal boots, you know what I mean? Mark wanted the best, he wanted Predators and whatever, so but no, Mama went above and beyond, you know what I mean, to give us everything we've got, you know what I mean? So that's just how you need to try and be there and support her the day.
Definitely, and I know Cuish liked his clothes. I see that's not rubbed off on you, James. You're still man of the people.
He used to always slag me. I had a green shirt and they used to call it a bus driver's shirt. And any time I wore it out of town, he'd always say, "Why are you wearing that bus driver?" He used to slaughter all my clothes. But no, he was always a stylish person. So he was. Would
your mum, I suppose this is an obvious question, but would you have been proud of his footballing achievements over the years? So whether it was Scottish schools, as you mentioned, winning the Scottish Wellington Boys Club and eventually making it to dance and being not just a guy who played for a couple of years, a guy who played for what, 10 years or just about 10 years?
Just overall probably a bit longer than 10 years, but he left 3 times, so he was like a boomerang, kept coming back.
Always come back.
Kept coming back.
Never get his testimonial.
No.
James's fault.
No, because he left the club, broke the testimonial.
Aye, with 3 months.
I'm going to take this one off air, lads, so we'll catch that separately. But I'm sure your mum will have been pleased with everything Mark achieved in his football days.
Aye, definitely. Aye, she like my mum wasn't like one of them like had an interest in football. Even like football meant nothing to her, but she just what did mean a lot to her was just that her son was happy and what he was doing, and she would always ask him every time he came in for football, how'd you go on, or if he was at training that night, how was training, whatever else. So she always did look out for him and ask how he was doing, and I think she's maybe been to a couple of games to watch him, you know what I mean, but it wasn't something like she liked doing, you know what I mean. But Mark moved away as well, 2000, I think. In fact, it was just after Man United had won the Champions League final, the 2 goals in the last 2 minutes.
Solskjaer and
Sheringham. So Mark had moved to London. He stayed with my granny, but my gran was one of the top managers in BT, and he'd moved there to try and work as well, you know what I mean. And it was not something I could ever have done. I was just a mummy's boy, so I was just. But he moved there and he had the life of luxury because my gran had a big house and he had a job. He could do what he wanted. My gran would kind of give him a bit of leeway, cut him some slack, and she would always phone him and like say to him, like he'd put wee postage slips on her desk and say, "I need to pop out now," and she would phone him. She's like, "Where are you?" Like this was 2 years he's been away, you know what I mean. And he's like, "I'm just in at Canary Wharf, I'm just in the designer shops not having a look." She's like, "Mark, like you're working."
Aye, I'm just popping out for 6 hours.
He's like, "I'll be back," you know what I mean. So I went there. I think it wasn't long after that final, and he stayed there for. I think he maybe stayed there for 2 years, 2 and a bit years. But that was probably one of the hardest times in my life, obviously before what's happened now, because growing up, I always remember Mark's pals, Nobby and Richie. They always used to say, you know what I mean, everywhere you seen Mark, Soccer was tied to his leg, you know what I mean. So we were always together, and probably that was a hard part, just him being away, you know what I mean. I obviously spoke to him on the phone, but it's not the same. You've not got him there, and it was always somebody that I looked up to, as I said earlier. And if I ever needed any advice, and he could give it, he would give it, you know what I mean. So. But as I say, he was away for 2 and a bit years, and then he came back, and that was brilliant when he came back, you know what I mean. Just having him back again was the best thing for me. That
would take a bit getting used to. So if Mark's come down to London in about 2000, so Mark I think was 2 months younger than me. I was February 81. I think Mark was April. Was that his birthday?
April, 17th of April.
April 81. So just a few months of a difference there, but that means he'll have been about 19 when he's going to London. But from your point of view, you're 15, 16, and at that time in life, you very much look up to your older siblings, and you're at quite an impressionable young age, and I'm sure it was kind of something you had to adjust to, and the world even then wasn't as connected as it is now, you know, social media and phones and WhatsApp and all that stuff. So I'm sure it took its toll, and you'll have been delighted, as your mum and dad will have been when he came back. He's come back, James, probably just before that 2003 time when you've signed him, and at that point, he's come into a dressing room with a lot of big personalities, a lot of interesting personalities, and you've got guys like Ronnie and Tam Miller, Joe Moher and all these kind of guys, but he's come into a very good dressing room as well. And did he fit in straight away? Was it a natural fit for him?
Well, at first he came in with that wee wine alley swagger, and just because he knew like Soap, me and Dixie. But there'd be other boys we used to try and sign a lot of Govan boys in the old days because you wanted people who would want to play with the club and knew about the club. So you'd Kevin Ford, Greg Fearson, Neil Diamond, Andy Elliott, Ray McDonagh. It was all local kind of boys. They were all good players. But Cuish just came in and swaggered in and thought he was the bee's knees right away. But there was a few of them that says to him, look, wee man, sit there and more or less shut up. Mm-hmm. But I'll give him that, he wasn't shy. He was good in the dressing room. He'd actually no bad part. I'll give him that. It's quite a good part, you know.
It was decent. I've come in a couple of years after. I think around about 2005-06, and I've come up with Big Mark Ritchie at the time. And I always remember that Cuish and Fordy at the time were two of the first lads to kind of welcome us in. And it was a really good dressing room. A lot of talented guys as well, you know. As I say, some interesting characters, but some real talent. And even there's a number of guys I'll probably forget, but Greg Harvey, Steph Mullen, Liam McCuish.
Steph Mullen's a top player.
Brilliant player. Abu, Ray that you mentioned, Ronnie.
David Dixon.
Wee Jamie Dock. All these guys. Talented dressing room. But how was it for you, James, to look after that crowd of boys? Cuish included, did you find that a good dressing room to work with?
It was a brilliant dressing room. I think what helped, you know, was because there were so many local boys and we'd known them all for years, you'd gone to watch him. Look, I remember when we signed Stephen Mulligan. Cuish actually told us about Mulligan because he played with him with Hillington and when they won the Scottish Cup. Big Mulligan was at Yoker. So when you got all the ones in, they all kind of bonded really quickly. And ones like Neil Diamond and Andy Elliott, they'd won most of the things in the juniors anyway. So they were really experienced and they used to rub off on all the younger ones. And before you knew it's probably the best dressing room I've ever had because we used to go every weekend. And back then, we didn't really lose many games. I think when we won the league, we lost one game. That was the first game. In the Scottish, we got beaten penalties. The other cups, we get beaten penalties. But the following year, you had injuries, you lost players. And Cuish and Brendan, he'd been established. And he was a really good player. He had a brilliant right foot. He could actually ping a ball side to side. But he was never short of telling you how good he was. He was always...
And you need that inner belief, James.
And I remember him at first when he didn't get in the team for the first 6 weeks and he was a wee cheeky boy. I want to talk to you. I said, look, Cuish, sit down. I'll talk to you in a minute. And he'd come up and say, how am I not playing? I said, because Neil Diamond's better than you. I said, look at him. And he'd look at me and laugh and say, do you know, boss, you're right. He said, I'll get his place soon. And to prepare, he was up against Joe Mahern, David Dixon, Neil Diamond, Greg Fearson, and he wanted to play the wings or in the middle. I said, look, the four you're up against, I said, you're going to struggle.
It's a good midfield.
It was a good midfield then.
You wouldn't have got in that midfield, would you?
I'd have been a star man.
Would you?
I would have.
Would you? Think so?
No, Cuish did say about him, I'll be honest, Cuish said, my wee brother's no bad. And I looked at him and said, he's hopeless.
No.
I said, Cuish, I said, I know I like you. I said, but Stephen's hopeless.
I think one McCuish at the club's enough to deal with, James.
It'd have been murder.
What we'll do, we'll come back to James. I know you've got many more stories about Cuish's time at Anson. We'll come to that in just a second. Stephen, as you get into your teen years, you and Mark Killam going to the Celtic games regularly, I'm sure, when possible. So what would be some of your standout memories of getting along to Celtic Park together?
I actually had, I got a season book. It was just, it was the Ronnie Dyer years. We had a season book for years. Both of us had one years ago, but obviously Mark's football and that took a hit as well. So he gave it up, and then quite clearly I gave it up as well after that because we used to go to the games together. But I got it back just when the Ronnie Dyer years, when kind of nobody wanted a season book then, Tino, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I kind of had it since then, but my eyes on the best at times. So, and Mark started. I think Mark just kind of quit playing football at the time, and wanted to start going to watch the Celtic games again. So he started coming, which sometimes was good, sometimes was bad. You know what I mean? Because he'd turn up half cut and just talk ears off you through the whole game, and you're trying to watch the game. So there's nothing worse.
I know a time where it wasn't so good. You mentioned it before. Was it PSG came calling? A very good PSG side, and it was a bit lively for you lads that day.
PSG, I think they narrowly beat us that night 7-1.
7 lucky goals.
Seven breakaways.
And I remember at the time they had Mbappe, Cavani, and Neymar. That was the three strikers. And you can imagine yourself if you're a photographer, you're wanting to have the main spot to get a picture or a video with these three amazing football players, and Mark just kind of let that up. He just
your seat was down at the Jockstein, wasn't it?
So Jockstein lower. So
the photographers are right in front of you.
So they're basically right in front of us, and there's just a whole row of them right all the way along, and we couldn't see you couldn't actually see onto the park, Tino, because the way they were. So it was tough, but like you just had to accept it for what it was. But some people couldn't accept it, and Mark being one of them, and he's up the whole first half, and he's shouting, "Get him away, fucking cameraman, get out!" Shouting and ball, get out of the way and all that. And 3 times the police had to come up to us and say to us, "Listen, you need to give it up." And he's shouting, "Move them in now, get up now." And they were. I think at first they were just on the verge of they were going to put us out because I never done anything wrong, you know what I mean. But I'm just getting tarred with the same brush. But
not for the first time.
No, so they were going to put us out, but it got to the stage. I think this big constable guy, he's like, "Listen, mate, if you keep this up, you'll know just being out the park. You'll be getting into the back of your van and going to cell." So, but
you might as well get chucked out at 7-1.
I know.
He could have done you a favour.
It was like, I think they scored an early goal. I think it was like after 7 minutes they scored, and they were 4-0 up after I think like half an hour or something. They were 4-0 up, and he's still shouting, and I'm sitting thinking, "Mark, just get it up because the game's over.
Yeah,
there's nothing much more for us to see apart from their goals."
Do you know, you mentioned the kind of front three for PSG, but we were chatting before we came on here. It's actually a pretty decent Celtic side as well. You know, it's under Brendan Rodgers. It's Dembele up top, Rogic is there, Bruni and Cham, Lustig,
McGregor.
It's a very decent side.
Strong side.
Simonovic, Beata, big Craig Gordon goal.
We were just sort of there. I remember Rabiot was pulling the strings for PSG.
He was a good player.
He was that. People always say to me like, "Can who's the best you've seen live and whatever?" And I've seen Messi at Parkhead against Celtic with Barcelona, but see that night watching that game, like Rabiot was just absolute frightening, like
100%.
And obviously you don't really watch much football, like obviously French football, but you see them in the Champions League or whatever, and you're watching it on the telly, and you really don't take much notice of whatever. But see, just watching him live, like the way he moves, the way he passes the ball, it was just phenomenal. I think I'll still say to this day, like that night when they beat us 7-1, and Rabiot, you look at the front three with Neymar, Suarez and Mbappe, and I still think that's the best player I've seen live, you know.
I thought he was an absolute standout, and I agree. I remember being at that game and thinking, we've got no chance at any point here. You know, sometimes Celtic
have
will
a faith. Keep the faith, Tino.
Sometimes Celtic will go toe-to-toe with anybody, and you'll go, "But there's a wee chance here." You know, Real Madrid, for example, under Ange, you were in it, and then eventually you beat 3-0. That night, that game, for the word go, you knew you didn't have a chance.
I remember that night, Rabiot, he picked the ball up just outside his own box, and he went forward. He's flicked it over Rogic's head, and Brown's come in with one of his nasty tackles, and he's just flicked it through his legs and rode the tackle. Mm-hmm. And Scott Brown's sliding by him, and I'm thinking, how good is this guy?
Aye, game's a bogey. Speaking of good Celtic sides, Cuish ended up going out to Seville. You weren't allowed out to Seville,
No,
is that
I wasn't
right?
allowed out to Seville. No, he got a stop put to that. He went out with, so all his friends went out. So there was Richie, Mick Law, and Big Nobby, Brian Stewart. So they all went to that.
And he's gone to Seville. Obviously, that's one of the kind of best Celtic sides in recent years. Obviously, but as we all know, we fell a bit short in the night just. But one of the main men from that team, Alan Thompson, eventually becomes a good pal of Mark's over the years, and somebody you've got to know yourself recently. How did that come to be, and what kind of guy's Tom been?
So he's a good guy. So they met. That was 10 years ago. They met. Sure, it was 10 years ago in Marbella. And I was actually just speaking to Alan about this last week. And he says he just seen this cheeky Scottish guy fall out as usual. But making it clear as if Mark likes a drink here, but no, he isn't a big drinker, but he enjoyed a drink that when he was trying to let his hair down. But no, so Alan just says like he always remembered him as like this cheeky Scottish lad, you know what I mean? And he says and he grew to be the cheeky Scottish brother that he wanted, you know what I mean? So no, so it was funny, like, because you think of Mark went to Seville and he's watching Alan Thompson playing on the park, Tino, and then years later that he's genuinely like one of his good friends, you know what I mean? And the way Alan speaks about him, you know what I mean? We always, like, it's funny because we always noise him up, like me and you've got a couple of pals, Big John Logan and James Logan, that, so, and we always say, oh, he loves a name, and they noise him up with Tom and all that, and so they would noise him up, you know what I mean? But no, like Alan, I spoke to him and he classed him like a brother.
Yeah, it sounds like they became really quite close over the years.
So I think Alan had a lot of. He comes here he's actually up here tonight. Got a gig in Dundee, and then I'm going to go and meet him this afternoon. And he's got one tomorrow afternoon. He's got one tomorrow. So, so Mark used to, when he came up here, Mark used to go to all his gigs with him, be his book carrier.
Everyone needs a role.
Yeah, that's it.
Would they have, with Cuish Ben Deer off him about his days at Ants and what a player he was, and he could have made it and all that?
Oh, I could imagine. Like, is it Alan? The first time I met Alan was when Mark was in the hospital there. I'd never really. Mark had phoned a couple of times and like, Alan's got a speakers night tonight. You want to come tonight? And I'm like, no, it's just no my thing, whatever else. But no. So he would ask me to go out, but it's just once he gets that drunk, where he just annoying. I'm like,
he maybe needed somebody to help him carry the book.
Aye. Too many books.
But no, like, so I'd imagine he would be telling him how good a player he was. You know what I mean? Obviously, I can imagine he'd have been adding an extra bit on about how good he was. You know what I mean?
Aye. It's that way where he scored a 20-yarder and by the next week it was 25.
Aye.
And it was 30.
Oh, it goes up and up.
But it's clear that they did become close pals, and I know that from Alan Thompson as well. There was a really nice touch, actually. You've spoke about, various kind of friends of Mark's, over the years, and friends that he went to Celtic games with. And after he passed away, there was a really great banner at the St Mirren game, You'll Never Walk Alone, Cuish, in the stands. And it must have been, really tough times, Steve, not getting away from that, but it must have been comfort to you and the family to see that kind of thing at the game.
Aye, definitely. Because I knew it was happening that morning, because Richie had says that the boys they're kind of affiliated with the Tall Cranes Celtic Supporters Club. It's the Govan Emerald. So they're kind of where at. So Richie had told me in the morning that it was going to be. So so it was a nice gesture, definitely.
Yeah, nice to see. And I think so that's against St Mirren, and then maybe a week or so later we play Rangers, and someone had helped out to get Mark's picture on the big screen.
Aye, so one of our friends, Jane Hardy, she her cousin be Courtney, so she managed to get the thing for Harley, and so it was good because Harley was there that day.
Right.
She was there with her wee friends, so we managed to get a picture up with Harley, Lily and Mark. It was the one in Lisbon. So it was a nice touch, aye. Yeah,
definitely. So Harley Ray and Lily aboard, Mark's two daughters, and we'll cover a wee bit just in a second about them and a special memory for them in Lisbon. James, despite the various days and nights that Cuish has obviously spent at Celtic Park and beyond, he was obviously completely dedicated to the Ants and training hard, I'm sure, at different times. What's your own standout memories over the various years you've managed, Cuish? You've mentioned 10 years, give or take, and we'll debate the testimonial off air. But
I would say some of the games he played, and see, going back to training, he was a brilliant trainer. He very rarely missed it. Even if Celtic that was playing the Champions League, he would always make training, go to the game, maybe for a half an hour late. He always made training. I'll say that. He was a really good trainer, great attitude. But one of the games that sticks in mind was we're playing Cambuslang Rangers. I think it was 2006, 2007, when Sutton scored the chip.
Kloss.
Was that 2006, 2007?
I'll take your word.
Anyway, Cambuslang's playing us to win the league, but the game's on in the club. We've got nothing to play for. So if Cambuslang draw or beat us, they win the league. But if we beat them and Greenock win the league. So we were all in the club watching the game, snuffing each. I think it was the last 5 minutes Celtic scored, or the last couple of minutes. Sutton's chipped to the keeper. So they're out doing their warm-up and that. We're still sitting in the club. We're no bothering. So the referees come up for slips and that, and Cuish is that. I said, Cuish, take him at him. Tell him you're captain. They didn't even pick a team. When the team all wrote, but so they're out doing it, and obviously the goals went in, so we're all celebrating and all that, and we're all walking down, and Cuish starts singing, another one bites the dust. So we're singing that walking in, but their fans are all looking as if we're mental. We go out, they scored right away, 1-0 to them, because we never did warm-up or nothing. But after that, we just clicked and we beat them 4-1. And by this time, a lot of Rangers fans had came and they'd put Union Jacks all around the terracing bit. And the first thing Cuish does is runs there and stones like that in front. I think he scored a goal and the stones with his arms up in the air and stones like that. Him and Big Joe scored 2 and the stones like that right in front of the guy with Union Jack. So there's going to be trouble here. And all of a sudden, the guy says, yeah, calls him a few wee names. And Cuish says, aye, wait in the game he did you see Sutton's chip? And just, it was good that way, mate. So that was one of the games. The next game I'll go into would be Clydebank. I'll go into that because this is the same. They were going for promotion the year before. No, a year before it.
Were your teams just out to spoil other teams' fun? Sort of thing?
It sounds like that.
What had happened was, Cuish was like Marmite sometimes. You either liked him or you hated him, didn't he? He was one of these boys, he was annoy you. So a lot of fans didn't take to him away from home. Clydebank fans detested him really, for some reason. I don't know what he done. But they're playing to win the league. And I say him again, but it's the first time Big Mark Riches you spoke to earlier. You could back in the juniors and you could bet your team. So me and him's got a wee bit of cash on us because we'd a full team for the first time. And Cuish is like, let me in. I said, no, you're not allowed to bet, Cuish. You can't get it. So we didn't let him in, but not a bad wee bit of money. But we said, if we win, we'll take you out. It's nothing each at half time. And they're all kind of all errors. And I said at half time, I said, look, lads, we've got this money on us. If we win, we're all going out of town. We need to get a victory. And we came out. And we ended up scored 4 goals in the first 15 minutes of the second half, but Cuish scored the third. And he's run right round the park, right all the way round, and they're throwing pies and they're all going mental. And he stops at the dugout and says, what did I tell you, boss? Put me in the bed. So I ended up at 4-2 we won, but stopped him winning the league. So that was a great wee night for him. And we were not between that night, man. Kid you not, but a brilliant night.
Another James McKenna masterclass.
Another masterclass.
Just league stoppers, weren't they?
That's it. That's all they
No,
do.
we won the league, no, Stephen.
Listen, I'm sure you could tell stories all right, James, about kind of various other experiences. I'll let you pick one or two. You said there's a Lanark story, or there's also a Cumbernauld story, so pick your
Go to
favourite.
Cumbernauld.
Go for it.
Cumbernauld, we were playing, it was I think it was us, Cumbernauld and Shotts going for the league. And we're away to Cumbernauld and it's one each. Cuish was a sub. I think he'd been injured the week before, so he was on the bench. And there was a wee boy, Phil Barkley. Do you know wee Phil Barkley? Well, wee Phil Barkley was a good wee player. He was a wee terrier type. He was in your ankles, he would kick you, punch you, whatever, do everything to win this ball. And we were struggling a wee bit in the middle. And I says to Cuish, I said, look, Cuish, I'm going to put you on. I said, but see the first opportunity you get, day him. First tackle you get, make sure that he knows. I said, could you stroll in this game? He's kicking all your players and we're no doing nothing back. I said, so make sure you put one on him, first opportunity. No bother, boss, you can rely on me. You know what I'm like that. So he goes on. 30 seconds in, he get a corner. Cuish is Martin, we fell at the edge of the box. And he looks about and looks here. Next minute, he punches him. And I'm like, what's he done? Dixie, I said, Dixie, what's he done? So he's all smiles. Ref comes there, sends him off. So I said, Cuish, what you did? He says, you told me to do it. I said, I didn't tell you to do that. I said, make sure you hit him in a body tackle. So we got, I think we lost 2-1 or something. So in the game, you're shouting at him in the dressing room that, yeah, I bloody told you to make sure you hit this boy, but no bloody punch him. He said, well, I just took it because you said smack him.
Aye.
You know what I mean?
I guess poor communication for the management.
Probably.
There. I think
I
that's
must have been there that day, he was punching people.
Oh, he punched the guy. Not wee Phil doing. Wee Phil was one of these wee annoying players, but he was a good player.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Coach at fault.
Aye.
There's obviously a number of kind of good stories.
I've got loads of
different
some
games
you
and
can't
stuff.
tell, but
There's one though, and I don't think you're even embarrassed to tell it. Tell us about the time that you released Cuish for the Ants.
oh, this was a good story. Cuish had been here. He'd come back, so he'd maybe been over 10 years at the club. And we were at a pre-season game, and I phoned him up. I said, do you want to go to Blantyre? I think it was a Drawson or something, Blantyre at Drawson. So I go to that, Cuish, I'm nothing to do. He said, I come pick me up at the house. I'll go and get him at the house. And we go there and we're watching. We're the usual standards rubbish here. They're hopeless. We'll beat them next year, this and all that. So comes half time. I said, Cuish, get us a pint of Bovril. He goes around, gets a pint of Bovril, comes back. And he says, I can't wait to pre-season. And I said, who you going to do pre-season with? He's like, what? He says, shut up, boss. I said, no, be honest, who you going to do pre-season with? He said, oh, shut up. He said, if I was going to leave, I wouldn't have bought you that pint. I said, what's how I never told you? I said, I'm going to release you. He said, you kidding me on? He said, if you picked me up at the house, took me to a game, I could have stayed in the house, and now you're telling me you're releasing me. I said, I'm going to let you go. You've done enough for us.
But you get your pie and bottle.
Yes. So that was the gist of it. But he goes and signs for Neilston. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, oh, that's good, you've got a club, Cuish. Because I always spoke to him. He took me off for 5 minutes that day. And I said, that's good, and that. And we play Neilson, and he beat us 4-0, and he scores 2, didn't he? And he comes running there right to the dugout. What do you think of me now, boss? I'm not done now. And it was a big hand, get it up, you know what I mean? But no, so I'd never ever felt like we made it, but that was how I had to release him like that because you couldn't talk to him just on the phone, or like you had to do something with him and do it alone because he was upset.
I'm sure it was. And on a more serious note, it does say a lot about your own close friendship with Cuish that you've been able to release him in a footballing sense. That's just sometimes the way football goes. But you've remained pals. I mean, how long ago was that, James, you released
Oh, must be about 15 years ago it was.
And you've been pals right up to
I spoke to Cuish every day for 20 years.
20 years.
Every day.
Jesus.
More or less. Or every week.
So, James has just spoken there about releasing Cuish. We've already discussed no testimonial. Why are you still speaking to this guy?
I don't know actually, because he doesn't offer anything, Tino. He's probably he's be one
Cuish
of
loved me.
he'd be one of the guys you probably going to suit. You know what I mean? If it's a cup of tea, it's got to be black because they wouldn't buy any tea bags.
That's it, or the milk.
This is a sort. I remember one night we were out and we were in Madness, and I was up at a bar buying a drink, and he come up. I says, "You want
Don't
a drink?"
get me in trouble now.
I says, "You want a drink, James?" He says, "Aye." And he's asked 2 other people beside, "Did you want a drink?" I'm having to buy they 2 people a drink or no?
All your kindness and your money, is that?
Aye,
that the
my
way it
guy,
is?
exactly.
Kind Cotter, they call me, Tino.
Kind Cotter.
It's always the same with a minute, Tino.
And on that, so James has mentioned there, you spoke to Mark pretty much every day for the last 20 years and stuff.
Time.
Was James always close to the family Soko through, your dad and the various connections and the family connections?
And his
that they
ma
had
made
to bring?
lovely lasagna.
Aye, James, like, as I say, he's always been he was a massive part of Ants as well, wasn't he? All right player.
No anymore. I think you're bad for the answer these days.
Nice.
I can still go to games. I'm not on the committee now.
No.
Aye, he's all right. I've got him back in. No, but he was always a massive part, and he was a massive part of Mark's life as well. You know what I mean? And obviously James carried Mark, and that was my decision.
Yeah.
And when I was asked who was going to carry Mark, there wasn't ever anybody else in doubt who I thought would do it rather than James. You know what I mean? Because I know what he thinks of Mark, and I know what Mark thought of him. You know what I mean? Mark loved him. He used to call him boss, and I says, "You're cringy as fuck, man, stop calling him that," you know what I mean? And that's what he done, you know what I mean? Like, you get football players at senior level to call people gaffer and this, and I'm like, it's James McKenna, it's Cotter, just call
No, he
him
always
Cotter.
like called me boss.
But no, he always called him boss, you know what I mean? And again, I've got a lot of respect for James, you know what I mean? Because I know how he was with Mark, and growing up, he was good pals with my dad and that as well. So, aye, that's the memories I've got of James as well, because it was good.
Yeah, just clearly I can aspect.
And I used to spend lots of money on them, Tino.
I don't know about that, James. You're a kind guy in many ways. Money's not your thing, but we'll cover that. You mentioned that, obviously, James, I'm sure you were honoured to carry Mark.
No, that was really good. That was probably quite emotional. So it was, even in now thinking about it, you get emotional in now thinking about it. So it was a privilege to carry it, to be honest. And the good thing was, with the teams we had, I think there was over 30 players there. When Cuish played with us, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So it showed you how he was with the team.
Yeah, it says how close those dressing rooms were over the years. Something else which I'm sure must have gave yourself and your family a lot of pride, Soko, was the fire service and the presence they had at Mark's funeral, and a guard of honour. And there's some pretty incredible videos of drone footage of the guard of honour they put on the day. The fire service is obviously a huge part of Mark's life. I think he joined there around about 2009, and just to break away from the football briefly, how much did he enjoy that part of his life, and how much pride did he take in that? Oh,
he loved his job, Tino. He actually tried to join before he did, and he failed. Well, did he fail? It was I can't remember if it was the questions or whatever it was that he never managed to get in, and then when he did join, it was a guy for Govan, big guy Alec Dunn, who's sadly no ways the day either. Alec was a station manager in Govan, and he says, "Well, I'll try and help you out," and big Alec helped him to do everything as well, and he obviously got in there, and he loved his job, and he was always one of the. James says about it earlier on, his character. He's always wanted to be quite funny and whatever else, and some people don't know how to take that, and some people do. And
he did that sense of humour.
I mean, you look at us in life, like you look at me, you always think like but we're different. Like like he's, as much as I maybe make out like I'm a bit tough or whatever, but I when I say something to somebody, like I can't be blunt, whereas Mark is as blunt as a butter knife.
He's quite bold, eh?
Aye, so I know he loved his job, and he's had so many roles in his job as well. He was obviously station commander and that as well. I think that's what it was. And he moved on to the training centre as well. And I don't think he really liked that. I think it was just the hours was better for him, you know what I mean? But so he moved back to as I say, the tools, or if you would use that for the fire service, or the hose. But no, so he moved back to that, and he was in Mary Hilton. I think that's what they called it, Mary Hilton, because of the life of Oxford up there. And then obviously a couple of years ago, I think it was maybe about a year and a bit ago, obviously my dad passed away 4 years ago as well, Tino, so it was tough for my mum, and she stays just around the corner for Govan Fire Station, and I'm night shift as well, so it was hard for me to kind of try and be there for my mum, because I'm working at night and then I'm sleeping during the day, so it's kind of tough, So Mark just, being a fireman, don't do much, so he could sleep whenever he wanted.
PlayStation jump.
So Mark took it in his own hands and decided to ask for a transfer to Govan, so that he was closer to my mum, so he could maybe help her if she needed anything, because obviously my mum struggles now. She can't really walk much, and she's obviously got a wee mobility scooter and that and all now. But like Mark, he done everything for my mum as well. You know what I mean? He would go down, and sometimes she's a pest. He would phone her for like, "Can I come down, do this, do that?" And it's my ma's a funny character. You know what I mean? She like one of the ones like, "You can buy Asda a day." But what is he wanting?
What is it?
But no, so he moved to Govan just so he could be closer to my mum, and the guys in there as well. You know what I mean? I'm actually going there tonight to see one of the boys. He'd texted me last night, so I'm going to pop round there and see them tonight. That's his watch. So I've been round a couple of times, and they've told us some funny stories and that about him as well. You know what I mean? So it was good.
Do you know, it sounds like there's a real kind of sense of community amongst the fire service, James. It turns out we know a whole lot more folks there. I think of guys that work with Mark, like
loads.
Beaker and Gary Marshall, and there's various guys that we
see when he was at the funeral, I was surprised how many people I knew it was firemen, Tino. But I remember, do you remember Cuish's first fire I went to? Cuish's first fire I went to. It was up a tenement flat.
Aye.
In Govan, right? So Mid Hill, Postal, I think. So he's ran up the stair to get in, and all of a sudden hit the door with these axes and all that, and kick the door in, whatever. So Cuish is one of the first ones up, and he's struggling to get the door open. So another one's come, they manage to get the door open, and they run in, get the hoses and the flames and all that, and it's two big guys that's in the flat. So Cuish is obviously, he's all right, mate, and all that. But similarly, would you call it? They helped Cuish fainted. They carried him down the stairs. That was his first fire.
Is there truth in that, or is that him at it?
That's his first fire, so we used to slaughter him.
He's
every time there's a fire, so you'd be looking at mirror, Cuish. That was his first fire. He carried out with two guys.
His brother-in-law Scott McLaughlin, he was a massive help from Tino.
Scott.
I think they obviously did mention at the funeral as well. Like Scott was big from, and I remember they took him into that room, kind of, you need to blindfold and you're trying to find your way back out, and they get out and they bother, and that's what Natalie always says. She sent him to the shop that night, the Chinese, and it took him about an hour, and she says, "Where are you?" And he's away by it. So by the time Natalie went out to the Chinese and came back, Mark still wasn't back, so his sense of direction wasn't the greatest. But no, as I said to you there, I was speaking to wee Robo at the fire station a couple of weeks ago, and just telling us a couple of funny stories, and no, but like his job, he absolutely loved his job. And see the Wednesday when obviously after he got took into his induced coma, me and my cousin Declan were actually in that morning, and the doctor came in to speak to him, and she had says like, you're gonna need to go off the front line of your job because if you fall and you damage your spleen or whatever, then it could be fatal. You know what I mean? So I always remember it, Tino, like to this day, we were sitting there that morning, we were there at 8:30, and when she came in and she spoke to him, and it was just the way we were a day, just having a full-blown conversation, and when they walked out, and he just looked at me and he's like, "What did she say?"
Right.
And like you could see the colour draining through his face, and I think it kind of...
The fact that he'd have to step back from the work stuff.
I think that was... But I think he knew he was going to have to step back and all, but I think it was just reality hitting that he knew this was a conversation, you know what I mean? That this was going to happen.
It was going to be serious.
So that was, again, that was the harder day, and and so as I say, I left, and he says, "I'm tired, mate." I says, "Right, that's fine," because Natalie was coming up with the kids, and I says, "Right, I'll go." I says, "No, I'll let you get to sleep and that, and then I'll come up later on because I was going to golf. Me and my pal were playing against the pro and the captain that day, and I remember I was going to the hall and my ma phoned me, and I didn't actually think it, because I just thought he was sleeping, I didn't think anything was wrong, and I answered the phone and she was in hysterics, just like, you need to come up, like, Mark's in a bad way, and that's, for me, like, I know people say, like, I was still here, like, weeks later, but see, and this isn't for anybody else, because everybody takes grief at their own comfort and whatever else, but see, as far as I was concerned, I lost my brother that day, because that was the last day I kind of seen him where I could speak to him, it was very hard, considering when you've lived your whole life and then it's just took away from you. So
I can understand that. I mean, Cuish always was a guy full of energy, full of life, James, and I can understand how that would be hard to see. James, you also seen Mark in those kind of last couple of weeks?
Well, obviously I was up when Sokos phoned me and told me he was in a bad way, and I'm like, Stephen, you just probably overreacting, calm down that. But when we did go up to see him when he was in the coma and that, and he was talking about getting out and all, wasn't he? And you went to buy him chips.
Aye.
That just shows you how quick it escalated. And within a couple of hours, he was on the tubes everywhere. And when we were in sitting with him, it was quite sad, because he'd all these tubes in him, and the nurse is like, don't touch that tube. If you touch that, you'll die instantly. And you're sitting and saying, that can't be right. Says I spoke to him all week on the phone and whatever. And when he phoned me, I said to Lorraine, I said, Sokos I think he's getting a bit carried away. I'll be honest, I did say that, Stephen, what I mean? He said, Cuish is not going to make it possible, there's a chance. Then all of a sudden, after the 2 weeks, you're thinking, saying, maybe there is a wee chance and what's going on, but it was really difficult.
I can imagine.
Stephen, I remember that Wednesday I came in and I spoke to him, and I says, what's the script, how's things? And he's like, I'm hoping to go out the weekend, and
that's why I go to Celtic, isn't it?
Celtic were playing the Sunday that day, and he said, I'm hoping to be for the game on Sunday, and I was like, oh, good, because I thought maybe he'd heard from the doctors that it was good news, so I was kind of buzzing with that as well, right, that's good, like, he's getting out, so...
Yeah, it sounds like Celtic were never far from his mind, even when he was having tough times there. You spoke highly there about Mark's time in the fire service, Stephen, and the fact that he made the move to be close to your mum and show that support. What was the pride, for your mum and Alco, your dad, when Mark joined the service? He's obviously, I know you kid on, he's a PlayStation champ, but it's a really
snooker champ, I know, a
serious job to be doing. What was the pride like for your mum and dad there?
They were so, when he passed out, my granddad actually was over that time as well, so they went to see his pass out parade and that as well. So no, like they were so proud of him. Like you couldn't ask for two better parents, you know what I mean? Like as I say, gave him everything he wanted growing up, and still supported him. And obviously my dad passed away 4 years ago, but my mum was still there to his last breath, so she supported him massively, and she was so happy when he done that. Obviously she's a bit scared what any mother's going to be like my dad would go, it's all right, it's only fire and that, whatever else, but my mum would always, my mum's a warrior, and she would always care, like, what happens if he's on a big fire and anything happens to him, and what mothers are going to do, you know what I mean?
But see, I mean, it's a dangerous job. There's no getting away from it. But obviously, a lot of pride everywhere. But Mark himself was obviously, really proud of the role that he took on there. As mentioned at length by Tommy Sheridan at his service, Mark loved his holidays, and that was a huge part of life for him and Natalie and the girls. One of his last trips, or his last trip actually, was a cruise that went on at your recommendation. You're the cruise guy, aren't you?
I like the cruises, Tino.
Do you know they actually went for 1 year? They went 11 months, a holiday every month, apart from 1 month in full year.
I've heard this. Was this out to Spain and stuff?
Aye, so they used to go to Natalie's mum and dad. They've got a wee place out in Spain, and they would go there all the time. He loved it. Again, that was a place he loved, you know what I mean? Just going out there, because Mark, like for me, I go to Florida. I love going to Florida, and see big holidays are always about, but Mark just wants to chill and
top up the tan.
Try and beat my tan, Tino. That never happened, but...
So Mark, Natalie, the girls, Harley Ray and Lily Abo, they've gone on a European cruise, and they've ended up in Lisbon. Special place for any Celtic fan, and I'm sure it's one that over time Natalie and the girls can look back on fondly. There's a really nice video, James, you showed me it briefly before we came on there, but it's a nice wee story to cover. Tell us the gist of that video that you were showing us.
Well, what it is he's always wanted to go to see the Lisbon Lions, the park and that. And when he's got there, he's walking up with a cup, and Natalie and the Waynes are singing for it's the grand old team to play for, and you can see Cuish all smiles, carrying, and he's not even looking back, he's just walking and walking and walking, and he gets to the tunnel. I don't know if we've seen it at the end of it when he lifts the cup up, but he generally lifts the cup up, and he gets to the tunnel and they're all laughing and singing and that, and he lifts the cup up. It's a great video for him, for the family.
And we'll try and share that, or at least some of the audio from it here. And
Natalie's not the best singer, right enough, but she did do her best.
That full cruise, Scott, his brother-in-law, Scott McCuish, was telling us that I think he asked the, I don't even know what you call him, sailor, or whatever he is, like, when we got to Lisbon, when we got to be in Lisbon, I think the whole time, and all he was caring about was getting to Lisbon.
Yeah, just.
Well, that was missing my text. Wait till I'm at Lisbon, they'll send you all the photos.
Yeah. There's a brilliant photo of Mark and Natalie and the girls, you know, up at the podium where Billy McNeil got the trophy, looking back on the pitch, and it's one to be cherished. It's a cracker. It sounds like he's passed on his love of Celtic to the girls. Definitely Harley Ray. I think you said Harley Ray's really into her football. Lily Abo, maybe a wee bit of work to be done there. Tell us the story of the time he took her to a game.
There's no work to be done with her. So he took Lily Abo to a game one day, and I remember him phoning me after it, and he says, I've just took Lily to our first and last ever Celtic match. I says, what happened? He says, we're just sitting there and she's pointing about, and I says, Lily, what are you doing? She says, I'm just counting. I can't remember if it was the empty seats or if it was the people that were here. And I'm like, oh, Jesus Christ, man.
Counting the 60,000.
Must have been a slow game.
Lily's a funny character. Like, they're two different sort of girls, you know what I mean? Love her to them so much, but they're two different. Lily is just crazy. She's just constantly on her phone, and like she just tries to see the funny side and everything, you know what I mean? And her head's warped a bit like mine. I think, see, to be honest with you, when I look at the two girls, I think Lily is me and Harley's Mark.
Right, that's the fit.
But Harley, obviously, she took to the games, and Mark took her to games every week, and she loved. They actually, obviously, they stay in Cambuslang, but they actually used to travel for Cambuslang by Parkhead to go down and go on the Tolley's bus to go back up to the game again. So no, Harley, I loved it. She loves the football. She still goes a day. She's obviously kept his season book, so she's a wee pals are quite next to her as well. So
yeah, and it's nice he's been able to pass it on, and there's plenty of time for Lily Abo. Maybe she'll get into it a wee bit more in the years ahead. Just in terms of Mark's general thoughts on the team in recent times, you know, obviously you've got lots of good memories of the game together, but was he a Brendan Rodgers man, or was he Team Ange? What was his thoughts on the most recent Celtic stuff?
I know, he was one of the ones, like he hated Rodgers when he was coming back, and we actually spoke about it, and I remember saying, like, listen, he's a top manager, and like it's no ideal, the situation the way he's come back. He's like a rat and all that. But that's just the way Mark is, you know what I mean? It's just if somebody's done that, he just kind of doesn't like to see. Whereas I've came on a bit, obviously with a bit of help through my own life as well, Tino, that I can understand some things now. Whereas I used to be like that. That used to be my thinking. I couldn't see the good in anybody, you know what I mean? Okay. Didn't matter how good you done, you know what I mean? I just couldn't see the good in you. But today it's different, and I'm not saying it was like in a bad sense he does it, but obviously we spoke about that, and then
did he come round to Rodgers after the double? Would that have helped him?
I'd imagine he would have done, aye.
Yeah. What about your own kind of lasting memories of Cuish and Celtic, James? Obviously you spent so many years together in terms of the Ants and your own football, but
the Celtic game, I went to one of the best games I went to was AC Milan. Me and Cuish went there, and Cuish is like, I've got your ticket, boss. Me and you just gone, we're going to have got a wee swally and all that. And I said, I'm not drinking anyway, Cuish. He said, no, I'll take it in. I said, so we're sitting there, and because he's that dark, he always wore sunglasses. You've seen him in the photos, loads of sunglasses. And he looked a bit like Italian, but we were sitting next to the Italian fans, and when they were shouting at us, and this is true, he started shouting, I don't know if it was Italian, but he was shouting back if he was shouting in Italian at him, shouting, "Mi Italiano," and all that. And he's got the Celtic scarf on. I said, "Cuish, you're going to get us a doing." And like he said, the Polish guy come up, no, you've got these stairs, I think there's 3 bits are missing, the streets. Separates the fans, and the post come up and says, "Is he Italian?" I said, "No, mate, he's Scottish." He said, he's just winding him up. But I think Celtic won 2-0 that night. And that AC Man, did we not beat AC Man?
Scott McDonald, maybe?
That was Donati, wasn't it? Donati and Scott McDonald.
I think we beat them 2-0.
I need to check the history books.
I've got a lovely photo of me and him with our scarves on, but it does look like Italian in the photo, you know what I mean?
It's funny.
He was just trying to be funny, but doing his daft Italian patter.
We were actually just talking about it last night, and my mum's, my cousin Kelly and my Auntie Margaret and that were in, and like, he loved Matty Margaret. My nana passed away and she used to call Matty Margaret Maggot. So Mark used to call her that as well. And so like Margaret, Archie and Jordan was like another wee brother to me. I absolutely adored them. So like Matty Margaret, Jordan, Archie, like it's like, do you remember watching was it Only Excuse, sorry, when you've got the Celtic family?
The bed covers and the wallpaper.
Yeah, so Matty Margaret, Jordan, Archie, they're just Celtic daft, like they just love them, and obviously they've got their free seats as well, and Mark used to go in and annoy them again, half cut, like, and they're nothing, but Matty Margaret obviously loved them so much, you know what I mean? So she misses him, she goes to games, she was just saying that last night, like it's not the same being at the games. And she says he came into a game one night and he was moaning about this guy because the guy was slagging players, and he's like, get me, like, it's like, that's his seat. I gotta tell him to go, you know what I mean? You need to go.
I think generally speaking, for a lot of us, when you think of Cuish, you'll think of Celtic. You know that he was so kind of passionate about following his team. As we've covered a lot of memories of Mark today, and I know we've barely scratched the surface. There's so many other stories, despite your best efforts of getting all your stories in. But in short, and I'll come to you first, Stephen, how will you best remember your brother? What's the picture you'll get in your mind when you think of Mark?
It's just, as I say, it's tougher now, you know. Obviously, it's hard because it's raw. But I just need to try and live with the fact today that he had a great life. It was mentioned again in the crematorium that how good he lived his life, and Tommy Sheridan says that, like, when you see somebody at 70-year-old, they've not lived half a life of the way Mark lived his life. So the day I just try and think of like the happy times I had with him and the life he had, and just try and appreciate that he had this time on this earth, you know what I mean? And obviously I just need to try and move on. It's going to be hard. Definitely with a bit of luck, I'll need to try and get over it. It's definitely going to be tough, you know what I mean? I'm actually going for a tattoo. I think I'm either Monday and Tuesday. We went to Ibiza in 2017 for my stag do, and if you've got time, I'll tell you a funny story about that. But so he got a tattoo, and it was My Bro, My World. Two of us were meant to get it at one time, but I was sober and he was steaming, so it was easy for him to get it. So I never got it, so obviously I'm going to go and get that done. But just a wee funny story, but I ended up in hospital at that my stag do as well, Tino, and I remember getting woke up and they says, your brother's not well, and like going to get him to hospital, and I've got these two paramedics standing in front of me saying like, need €150 before I take him. And I'm like, what? So they're not taking him, well, he's ill, and they're not taking him until I've given him €150. So I was paid the money and that, and we talk about Bika, and me and Bika went to the hospital and that with him, and the hospital was miles out, but I just grabbed Clay's and I never thought anything else of it, because he was in the house, but again, or the apartment, I never thought anything else of it. And we get to the hospital and I've got like shorts and t-shirt and that for him. So they says we're going to need to keep him in. So the next day, me and my pal stand on the veranda and I can just see this guy tiptoeing along a grin. And I says to my pal, what's the state of him, man, with no shoes on? And it was Mark. Because when he was in the apartment, his shoes was off. And I never took any shoes with him.
Creeping back in. But nice touch with the tattoo, and I think that'll be a kind of special thing for you. But as you rightfully say, Stephen, it's a life all too short, but he's packed a lot of fun, a lot of happiness, a lot of great memories into those times, and I'm sure you'll always reflect on them. James, your own kind of general thoughts when you think of Cuish?
My general thoughts are, I remember a wee scrawny guy coming for the Ants and saying he wanted to play and all that, and I watched him progress into a really good player and obviously became a good pal. And just to see him going on, and he ended up managing the Ants with Danny and that, so he'd done a lot for the Ants and that, I know. Yeah. But the main thing I always sticks out for me is, like you talked about Tommy Sheridan and that, we used to play 7-a-sides, and he said he loved a name. And when we used to go and play 7-a-sides, there would be like, say, Tommy Sheridan, Jerry Farrell, Methadone Mick, James English, Charlie Miller, the comedian boy, what's his name for the son? Oh God, I can't remember. Des Clark. So we used to be all names, and Cuish used to say, these are all my pals. I said, Cuish, I know your pals. I said, we play football with them. I said, but I know your pals. But Tommy always does an Italian dinner in one of the, what's that, Paisley Road West restaurant they go
Elevator.
to? Aye, they always have it at the end of the season after the sevens. I never ever went. But
No,
Cuish
'cause
used
you
to
weren't
love going.
invited.
I was invited. But you had to pay. That's how I never went. So Cuish used to love it. So Cuish would go in and send me the photos. And I'd say, Cuish, much as this costing you to sit with all these so-called famous ones and they don't know who you are. I said, they don't even know anything about you and you're sitting with them all talking about this and talking about that. I said, you're £100 out of pocket. I said, that's how I don't go. But Tommy did like him, I'll say that. Tommy Sheridan did. So I always remember him. He loved the name.
Yeah, he liked the name. But listen, I've no doubt, James, you've got your own, too many to mention, happy
I've got
memories
loads of
and
stories that I
great
could
stories.
use.
I just generally, when I picture Cuish, you think more often than not he'd be smiling, more often than not
happy.
he'd be at the wind up, and as we've covered today, more often than not thinking about Celtic or the answer, something to do with that.
And he loved his football, as you know.
Fit Bunny's family, I think. So just before we get finished up, Stephen, there's a couple of important things you want to mention. There's a game coming up in November, and I think a fundraising event as well. Do you want to give us a wee bit of chat on that?
Aye, so we're going to have, well, it's my mum, Margaret, and my cousin Kelly are going to be running a charity event which will take place in the Pearce Institute in Govan. It'll be 23rd of November. So that'll be 7 o'clock on the 23rd of November. I'm going to get a page up about that as well and get some stuff out. And I'm also going to have a football match on the 30th of November, which is going to be the fire service team against a select few and some ants, old crooks I'll call them now because they're no legends, are they? They're just old crooks, aren't they? So,
Legends are too old now.
so there's going to be a match and it's going to be in the 30th of November. Time to be confirmed. I'll get that out as well anyway. And all proceeds are going to go towards. So we've tried to be looking into it now, and so like when Mark was in the hospital passing away, like you had the surgeons and doctors, nurses, and for everybody. Like sometimes you get into hospitals and you go, "Oh, that person wasn't the greatest," but I couldn't fault one person that dealt with Mark, and that. And the high dependency unit, they were amazing, every one of them. So hopefully maybe we're just going to look if they're going a Christmas night out or something, find out maybe where they're going a Christmas night out just and try and maybe give them a free night, and then we're going to look into maybe some sort of liver spleen sort of thing and see if we can just donate the rest to that.
Yeah, brilliant stuff. And you've spoken so highly, Stephen, at different times about the great support and care Mark received, towards the end of his life, and I know you're really keen to support those individuals as well as some really important charities. So what we'll do, we will link to these events in the show notes and we'll share them across our social media. But a couple of really important things, and well done for sorting that. So
Thanks, Tino.
30th of November at McKenna Park. You playing? You legend these days?
I'll be there.
No,
I'll be
invited.
there, Tino.
Maybe celebrity coach.
But I was just listening to the free night. I might be there, I know.
Free night sounds like your kind of night.
Alan
But the
Thompson's
nurses-
actually going to be managing
Right.
the Ants team.
Nice touch. So Tom will be
So that'll
taking the
be
team. So the fundraiser 23rd of November over in Govan, and then McKenna Park on the 30th for the game. So definitely one to look forward to. Thanks to Soko and James for sharing their memories of Cuish today. It's been a life that was all too short, but also one that was packed full of happiness and full of fun. And hopefully that's how we can all now remember him. Thanks to everyone who's taken the time to watch or to listen. And whether you knew Cuish or not, I hope you've enjoyed the stories of someone who loved his family, loved his football, and who won't be forgotten. Thanks for the memories, Cuish.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Cheers, lads.
Walking through the famous Lisbon tunnel. Nearly there. Up the famous stairs. Up into the pitch. Look at that, man. Incredible. Unbelievable, man. Wow, man.